Progression is the name of the game when pertaining to the 2018 Phillies. Spring trading is here. Baseball is back. And Gabe Kapler, I cannot wait to see what he has in store for the season. Kyle Gaffner and Tony Del Grasso are both here. Thank God Tony's on the phone, so we can't see his hideous face. So how are you guys doing?
What'd you say? You broke up. I'm sorry. You broke up.
I said, how's it going?
Oh, man, it's going great. I'm jacked up after seeing that Sixers win. Spring training's right around the corner. It's right there. We're in the midst of it. I'm hyped up. I'm loving it.
Yeah. Tony, how about you?
Yeah, man. I am so excited for the season. I'm excited for every baseball season, but this year in particular, the Phillies are actually going to be – I mean, hey, we'll see what happens with Arrieta, but even if they don't get Arrieta, they're at least going to be, like, competitive, 500-ish, fun team to watch, new manager, bunch of young players. Team is undoubtedly headed in the right direction, and, I'm very, very, very excited.
Let's start with Arrieta immediately before we kind of get into some of the other storylines. So, do you guys want to sign him?
Go ahead, Tom.
I am absolutely 100% for him. I've been saying this for a while now. I would have preferred Yu Darvish because Darvish is better and a little younger, but he's obviously a lot more expensive. The rumor now going around is that the Phillies are in legitimate conversations with him. He's legitimately considering the Phillies. He's obviously a Scott Boras guy, so he wants a long-term deal. It sounds like that long-term deal is not out there from any team. And like we were just talking about, apparently the Phillies are very prepared to give him a short-term deal that would overpay him like quite a bit. Something along the lines of like 3 years, maybe $100 million. As where they would even front load that and basically give him like 70 or 80 million in the first 2 years alone. So if he's getting $35, $40 million a year for his first couple seasons, and he has confidence in himself that he would be able to get another contract then when he's 35, then he might end up doing that. Frankly, he might not have a choice anyway because that 6 or 7 year deal that him and Boras are seeking might not ever be put on the table. So, I mean, yeah, he's not the dominant pitcher he was in 2015 and 2016, but he's still really good. I think there's this perception out there that he's like not good anymore. I mean, yeah, his numbers have gradually declined, but he's still a top 20, 25 pitcher, and he would still easily be the second best pitcher on the Phillies behind Nola. And yes, I would put Nola ahead of him at this point because Nola is ascending and Arrieta is declining. But shit, if you can get him on a 3-year deal, who cares if you have to overpay him a shit ton? I mean, I would be absolutely all for it.
How about you, Kyle? What are your thoughts?
If it is going to be front-loaded, I'd be okay with that. I'd want an opt-out option possibly in there. And I'm with Tony to saying it's crazy to think that a 31-year-old pitcher is on the decline already. I mean, he had still a decent year. He still only had a 3.5 ERA. I mean, he was dominant the past 2 years. But even before he had these 2 dominant years, his ERA was much inflated when he was with Baltimore. So to think a guy is only going to continue to decline, he might have just had maybe some soreness, a little bit banged up injury. But look at our staff right now. Can you honestly say there's anybody better or on the same level as Arrieta on our staff right now? Probably not. So he brings a veteran presence to get him in here. He's got nasty stuff. He still won 14 games. I think it would be an okay thing. And there's no salary cap in baseball. So we could just spend, right? We gave $60 million to Mr. Santana right there. Why not throw a little bit in the pitcher's ring right there?
Yeah, all of a sudden, your starting rotation, you got 2 guys at the top that you can kind of rely on. And all of a sudden, this would potentially vault the Phillies to a wild card. And I think for a young team, playoff experience would be pretty important. So this would remind me of the J.J. Redick situation. But instead of getting 1 year, he would get 3. You're overpaying but you're bringing in someone that you know that you can rely on. Because aside from Aaron Nola and Jake Arrieta, can we really trust the rest of the staff right now?
No, we definitely can't. They're youngsters. They really haven't proven anything. We've gotten inconsistencies out of Velasquez. We've gotten inconsistencies out of Eichhoff. Nola's been solid. Hopefully he can stay healthy and be able, because I think he can produce. He could definitely be a top-end starter, number 2, if anything. But we did overpay for Santana because we weren't hitting that many home runs. And what does he do? He can belt them out the park. So why not get a little bit of offense in here so you do the same thing with the pitching staff? And you had talked about playoff experience. Both of them have just played in the World Series not too long ago and have playoff experience. You want to bring that with a young, up-and-coming team. So you want to get veterans in there.
Yeah, and really the pitching prospects they have, other than Thomas Eshelman, are guys that are realistically at least a year or 2 away. And, Sixto Sanchez and Medina. So, yeah, right, Kilome. There's all these guys that everyone likes, but realistically we know we're not going to see them for a while. So there's a spot for Arrieta. And I also think that this offense is going to score runs. And it would be a shame if they miss out on a wild card spot just because they only have one pitcher in Aaron Nola. Yeah, like you mentioned, who knows what you're going to get out of Velasquez. It'd be nice if Eichhoff bounces back, but who knows about that. It's really Aaron Nola and a bunch of question marks right now. So,
yeah,
Arrieta would do a lot.
Yeah, Velasquez. I mean, he can't keep the ball in the zone, walking everybody. Can't make it past 5 innings. Start basically. Eichhoff, we'll see if he can bounce back. But even looking after those two, you're looking at what? Nick Pivetta, Ben Lively, Jake Thompson, Zach Eflin, Thomas Eshelman. Those are the guys that are going to be battling for the last 2 rotation spots if you don't get Arrieta, and that's a problem.
Yeah, it is. Go ahead, Tony.
I like Eshelman out of that group you said. I like him a lot, but all the other guys, yuck.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Makes me want to throw up in my mouth.
Yeah.
Just very inconsistent. And if you look at our bullpen, it's not like we have a bullpen of KC or the Indians of years past for KC. I'm a little worried about our bullpen. So at least Arrieta can at least go 7 if you need him to. But those guys should be thinking about or even battling for maybe being back at the end bullpen guys like the Velasquez's or Eflin. But Eshelman, he might have a better chance just because he's going to be a guy that's going to work the zone. He's not going to blow you away with his fastball. He's got some nice off-speed pitches, but he hasn't had any taste of the majors, so we don't know what he's going to be like. He's really mowed his way through all the minor league teams, but can he really do it when he comes up to the bigs? I hope so.
Yeah. And to get back to Arrieta, just real quick, we're all basically saying, just to clarify, we would only sign him if it's like a 3-year deal. And the reason why you can potentially get him on a 3-year deal is because he is coming off a season where he wasn't as dominant. So teams might be scared of giving him a long-term contract because, well, what if he is on the downside of his career and these teams aren't trusting him? But for 3 years, I would try and make it work. And there you go. So just wanted to clarify that just in case people will misread us because, the trolls are out there.
Well, you know what, too, Adrian? It baffles me that teams would like to offer a 32-year-old pitcher that much money, and especially towards the end when they're like that. If he did get a 7-year contract, you're talking this is going to go into his age 39 season.
Yeah.
Why do you want the whole Pujols situation where they gave him all that money, where he's making so much money when he's 40 years old when he's not going to be producing? So at this point in his career, he's only going to be getting maybe 2 to 3 year contracts, if that, unless he proves otherwise.
Yep.
All right, let's get into Gabe Kapler. And I got a quote right from the start because he thinks that the Phillies have an opportunity to shock people. So here was his quote. I think if everybody on our roster takes a small step forward, we have an opportunity to shock people. That's the message we're going to convey in camp. Ultimately, the message is we can win. It's not like a delusional statement. It's more like we all take that small step forward. We all get a little bit better. we all develop just enough where we surprise people. I think it means being very competitive when September rolls around. So being in the mix, being in the hunt, fighting for the National League East, I don't think there has to be any major declaration made here. We're fighting for the National League East in September. How about the quote? What do you think?
Love the quote. I love the signing of Gabe Kapler. He's an analytical guy, so he's got a different way of thinking. He's going to be thinking outside the box. I believe we'll see a lot of out-of-position players, like having Santana maybe catching sometimes, maybe going out to first base.
Yeah.
The
positional flexibility.
Yeah.
He likes to call it.
Yeah, dude, pretty much. We might not even see, even if Arrieta's having a great game, if we do sign him, maybe he takes him out in inning 4 or 5. Who knows? But I just like the way he has a good attitude towards the game. I think he's a very knowledgeable guy. Look what he really did with the Dodgers. I think he knows players. I mean, he's not that far off from any of these guys. He's a very young dude. And I just think it was a great signing, getting Gabe Kapler. He was kind of out of left field, kind of like Dougie Peterson, So maybe he can create that type of same magic. Maybe it's an underrated signing, and he takes us further than we're expected to go. But look who's really in our division other than Washington. Do you really see anybody fighting for the division other than the Nats? The rest are really in rebuild mode too.
Yeah. I love every bit of that quote. I love the Kapler signing, just like Kyle was saying. I think it was maybe 2 days ago. Yeah, actually, they were talking about Santana and his positional flexibility. And, yeah, he's going to be the starting first baseman for probably 150 of the 162 games. But, yeah, he did mention that I think the quote was, in a pinch, Santana can still catch for us. Everyone knows, he came up his first few years. He was a catcher. Mm-hmm. And I wonder as the season goes on, especially if they're in the mix for a wild card or whatnot, I wonder if we see him at catcher a little bit more than people expected. Now, I don't expect him to actually start at catcher any nights, but I think it's going to be the kind of thing where 7th, 8th inning comes around, hey, let's pitch hit whoever our catcher is, Cameron Rupp or Alfaro, and put a lefty in there to hit against whoever is their pitcher, and you have Santana then catch the last inning or 2 of the game just to extend the lineup, because that's the kind of manager Kapler's going to be. He's going to go matchup by matchup, hitter by hitter, situation by situation. So I think, when it's all said and done, yeah, Santana might end up catching 40, 50 innings this year total. If they're competitive and if it's worth it. Now that might be a high total. I don't know. We'll see. But he is flexible. Kapler's the kind of guy who could do it. Obviously, if that would happen, they would put Hoskins at first base, and they have the outfielders to do it. It's just really, really exciting to be a Phillies fan right now. I think Kapler's going to get the most out of Herrera. Herrera's, he's 24 or 25 now, so he's entering his prime. I think you could actually see him turn into one of the better center fielders in baseball. He has all the ability. Everyone knows it's kind of a make or break year for Franco. So we'll see what he does this year. They said he lost like 10 or 12 pounds. Not only has he lost 10 or 12 pounds, he's been following around Santana, and they think Carlos Santana could be a great influence on him, for obvious reasons. So, really you look at just about every position, and there is a young guy with a shit ton of potential, really all around the diamond. I mean, you could even make that argument at catcher if you're a believer in Alfaro. So, it's very exciting.
Yeah, and you think of progression right now in baseball and who the top teams are. It's the teams that are thinking progressively, like the Astros, like the Cubs, like the Indians, like the Dodgers. I mean, these are the teams that have represented, have been in the World Series the last 2 years. So the Phillies are trying to follow in the same route and follow in the same footsteps, and we'll see what Gabe Kapler can do with these guys. And Tony, you brought up catcher. Jorge Alfaro, what do you think? What's going to happen with him this year?
Well, all right. See, when it comes to the Phillies, you all know I am a forever optimist. When it comes to the Eagles, I am a forever pessimist.
Yes, you are.
Yeah. When it comes to Jorge Alfaro, he looked good in his brief time here last year, but when you really kind of look in depth at his numbers, it's just major red flags. Not just his brief time in the major leagues last year, but you look at his AA, AAA numbers. You look at really all his minor league numbers. It just screams at a guy who just simply doesn't get on base enough. I think he had 3 walks to like 30 strikeouts last year in the major leagues, which is horrid. But that was right on par with what he had done his whole minor league career as well. So it wasn't really like an anomaly. Yeah, when he makes contact with the ball, he hits it hard and it usually goes far. But I'm concerned he's not going to make contact with it enough. And if he's not getting on base, if his on base percentage is 280, that's just not good enough. Especially considering, by all accounts, his defense is subpar right now. Yeah, he has a rocket for an arm, and he is very athletic, especially for a big guy. But he just doesn't really have that feel for calling a game. He's not a very good blocker. He doesn't really know how to frame pitches. And it's
You're
not like
being
he's
very
crazy.
kind in that sense, too. You're being very kind.
Yeah, I really am, because if you ask most scouts, they would say he's about 30th out of 30 in starting catchers right now when it comes to those type of things. And yeah, it's not like he's like a 21-year-old kid either. I think he's like 25, maybe even 26 at this point.
No, he's 24.
All right, 24. So, I mean, he still has time, don't get me wrong, but it's not like he's a pup either. I mean, he should be starting to figure it out by now.
He has no more options left, from what I understand.
Right. Yeah, so he's absolutely going to get his chance. I mean, if I'm the Phillies, I'm pretty much putting Cameron Rupp by the wayside, and I'm giving Alfaro probably at least, I would say at least 4 or 5 starts a week to let him see what he's got, give him at least a few months, and if he's not improving, they're going to have to figure something else out long-term at catcher. Because there's really nobody else in the organization that at least I know of that has really potential to be a major league catcher. So I would think we all agree that catching is probably their weakest spot right now organizationally.
Yes, yeah, it is, and throughout his progression throughout the minors, Alfaro started off really hot, and then he just progressively declined. But I don't think he has an eye for the ball. It seems like he guesses a lot at the plate. He's uber aggressive when he's out there. He's always chasing pitches out of the zone. He cannot play. Like you said, he can't frame pitches. He's not a good defensive catcher. So it's basically like if he makes contact, he gets out of the park, or he just strikes out a lot. And you don't want that. And that's why I know Gabe Kapler is a big fan of Andrew Knapp, because when you look at it between the two, he's got a fantastic bat, and I like to call him a bad ball hitter because he can make contact with pretty much anything, but he's not a defensive catcher either. So you look at all 3 of the guys, out of all of them, you would say Cameron Rupp's the best defensively, but he had that one fluke year where he was hitting the ball. But I think Andrew Knapp, they're really excited about Andrew Knapp. They want to even start. He started leadoff today when they played Tampa Bay, University of Tampa Bay. I don't know how that went, but it would be the first time in history for the Phillies organization if he does start off at leadoff. But he's a guy that can make contact. I'd like to see his on-base percentage kind of go up a little bit more. It was like very subpar, but he got better throughout the season. So I kind of like Andrew Knapp. And I know they said he's battling for the second position of backup catcher. So whoever's going to start, either be Alfaro or what's his face? Oh, God. Yeah, Rupp, that's it. I think pretty much Rupp might be the odd man out.
Yeah.
I completely agree with everything you just said there. And it's interesting you said how Naps, doesn't get on base as much as you'd like, and I totally agree. and it's sad because he actually gets on base more than Alfaro and Rupp does.
Mm-hmm.
So they basically have three catchers who are just, simply not good enough. But yeah, I also agree. If Knapp, I don't even put it this way, I wouldn't be surprised if Knapp is their everyday catcher at some point in this season, because yeah, he is the most what they're looking for in a catcher.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so kind of moving on here. So I only have 5 minutes left. I meant to log into Brennan's account because he has the free Zoom where you can go as unlimited. But
I saw that. We got 6 minutes and 30 seconds.
Oh, okay. So, see, I don't see the time. All right, so you know the time at least. All right, so I want to ask this question to you guys. Last year, Brock Stassi was kind of the big name that kind of emerged, but then he kind of struggled during the season. So who is the under-the-radar name that you kind of see being like Brock Stassi from last year?
I got to say it's got to be Cousins, man. I know they're uber excited about this guy too. He's bulked up even more, even though he's not like a name that's under the radar, but this guy could actually break open in day roster, I think. I know. What's that? Go ahead.
Yeah, he's 270 now.
I know. He's a monster. He looks like the Hulk, dude. Like, if he wasn't big as is, I mean, this guy played defensive end at college. He could have played, I don't know if he would have went pro, but he's huge. So if he can, cut down on his strikeouts and get him into this lineup, he could be hitting dingers out there like Ryan Howard was when he came back up in 05. This guy has the potential to hit 45 homers, maybe 50, if he can cut down on chasing balls out of the zone. That's his weakness. He swings at a lot of pitches out of the zone, and he strikes out a lot, a la Ryan Howard.
Yeah, I think that's a great answer. Cousins is still definitely part of this organization. I think he still has a shot to be an everyday corner outfielder for them at some point. I'm going to go with Eshelman. I kind of said before, out of all the young pitchers they have, he's really the only one that's like ready and actually might be able to make the opening day roster. Mm-hmm. I think he could kind of be like a Kyle Hendricks type in Chicago. Mm-hmm. Doesn't have powering stuff, but doesn't walk people, just knows how to pitch and gets people out. I'm not saying he's ever going to be an ace, but I feel like Eshelman could be a really, really solid pitcher for them in the future. I'm excited to see what he does.
Okay. I'll throw out like Roman Quinn's name out there. He could be the team's fifth outfielder. They're going to place him at some shortstop in spring training. So I'll keep an eye on him. I'm also curious, not that he's going to do anything, but Will Middlebrooks had a great rookie season, and then he basically shit the bed the next 2 years. So I don't know if they could get anything out of Will Middlebrooks, but anything from him maybe?
Oh, that's a good question, man. You're right. He kind of like fell off the face of the earth after that rookie season. I mean, if you bring in competition, maybe that brings back that fire of that rookie year he had.
I wouldn't bet on it, is all I'm gonna say.
Yeah, that like out of the non-roster invitees, he's kind of the one that catches my eye. But yeah, other than that, not really much. They're Francisco Rodriguez, K-Rod, baby.
No, what though? Hold on. First of all, I will have to say he's an asshole. If when they signed him, I completely forgotten about his off the field stuff. He apparently like punched a woman when she was pregnant and like stuff like that. Yeah. So he's a douchebag. But people forget it was only 1 year ago where he was actually still really good.
Yeah.
How old's he now?
So,
he's like mid-30s, right?
Yeah, what, like 34, 35 maybe?
Yeah.
Yeah. But that's like a classic Matt Klentak, no risk and potentially high reward type of situation. If he could revert back to the guy he was just a year ago, then he's still a competent pitcher.
Yeah, it could be an asset to a pretty weak bullpen too.
Kyle, how much time we got?
We got 2 minutes, 24 seconds.
All right, so we'll quickly go around the horn. We'll do final thoughts, and next time I record, I'm going to use Brendan's account.
Okay, that sounds good. Final thoughts. I'm wondering, do you guys think we chase after any more big name free agents if we do sign Arrieta?
Well, my thought on that is
Less than a minute.
well, kind of no. Here's what I think is going to happen. I
Oh, you got to
honestly
make
think
it quick, Tony. You got it like in 10 seconds.
I think they're going to end up with Arrieta, and I think they're going to trade for Chris Archer.
Ooh, okay.
That would be awesome if we could do that.
That's what I think is going to happen.
Yeah. All right. So we'll end it on that note since we're about to get booted. Kyle Gaffner, Tony Del Grasso. Thank God we didn't see his face. And I'm Adrian Fetch. I love you, Tony. See ya.
It's smiling.